We're going to take the North and never give it back.
So that's a good pick. You get the corner. I got to go bold, right? I got to go bold for this.
Yeah, she's got some nice.
Welcome back to the Unbearable Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Brad. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're out there on YouTube. And also download that podcast everywhere that you get your podcast. Just search for Unbearable Sports. We are back. Thank you all so much for apologies for the delay. I cannot catch a break this winter season. I have gotten influenza A, influenza B. I've gotten like massive fatigue set in. So I've just been sick this entire winter. But I am back. I'm able to go. I just had some fatigue. So fixed that, got that all squared away, figured out. It's just a little weird. Never taken 2 consecutive days off of work in my life until last week. So it was one of those where I'm like, dude, I just got to get, it's when your body's telling you you have to sleep, you got to sleep. So apologies for the delay. I'm glad that we are still able to do this live and break down one of my favorite shows that we do on this show. And that is the award show, where we are going to be talking about our beloved Chicago Bears. And I kind of like this as almost like a recap show, of sorts, because we're just talking about the team and how we feel, how we feel about this. So that's what I'm excited about what we're going to be going through today. And we got Michael out there. We got J2K. We got Taco Man Bear Down. Michael's saying I'm late, so I got to do 10 push-ups. Maybe later. It'll be good for the New Year's resolution to try to get back into shape and do stuff like that. So I'll do that afterwards. My kids, though, they have the rule where if anyone says 6, 7, then they have to do 5 push-ups, because it's like it's outlawed at their school. So it's one of those where sometimes, you're like, we'll be there at like 6 or 7. And then they freak out because, they're kids. So let's get into this. And before we actually get into the award show, I always like to kind of give a little bit of time for the live audience to be able to come on in. But I want to just talk about some rumors, some coaching news that has been going around since I have been away for a couple of days, and just wanted to kind of talk about it. So first off, just with the coaching carousel, Eric Bieniemy gone officially. He's over at the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, I don't want to dismiss it. Like, he was always one of those people that he was too good to be a position coach. So you knew that he was going to go eventually. But I think the thing that makes me feel a lot better is that, you have a running back person, a running game minded head coach in Ben Johnson. He is in charge of the running game. And you've heard players say that they're not used to a head coach that goes in and says, here's how we're going to run the football. Here's the running scheme. Normally that's the offensive line coach, running backs coach, or someone like that. So the running game, all of a sudden, I don't think it's going to drop off or anything like that. The person who I'm actually looking out for is Deuce Staley, someone that who's renowned as a really good running backs coach, someone who has coached with Ben Johnson in the past when he was at Detroit, and someone who is currently a free agent coach right now. So that would be the big fish that I would love for us to get, to really kind of feel good about getting somebody else out there. But glad we were able to have Eric Bieniemy for a year to kind of help up and coach up, our running backs, because I felt that they looked really, really good out there. And then, J2K saying Nagy doesn't have a job. I think it's really telling. I'll actually put it this way, because I was one where, to me, Matt Nagy, and I said this, I'm like, he really motivated the Bears. He really motivated us that 2018 season. The biggest issue was that he felt like he didn't have, like, he was still very new at the position, and he didn't have a lot of original ideas, right? He knew how Andy Reid wanted things done, and he was doing what Andy Reid wanted. And then now you see him leave Kansas City, and they basically are letting him walk. He was doing the Matt Eberflus treatment of taking head coaching interviews, and no one gave it to him. Now, the difference is that we gave Matt Eberflus a head coach. And for those that are new to the show, I'm on very good record that that Matt Eberflus was actually going to get fired from the Colts, and he obviously took the job at Chicago. So they're like, oh, cool, awesome. So anywho, then Matt Nagy ended up being somebody that, like, I felt that if he could figure out this whole, like, we all knew that as soon as those scripted plays were done, he couldn't do anything. And he couldn't modify his game plan. He couldn't change things on the fly. He couldn't create ideas for himself. And that's what Patrick Mahomes actually brought up, is that they need some ideas. They need some of that fire. So they get Bieniemy. That's the big piece. So that's the big item out there. But then also Al Harris going out. He might be leaving. Packers actually just got a defensive coordinator, so he's not going to be going to Green Bay. But Al Harris, we kind of expected him to move on. Took some interviews. No say when, but I feel like we all expected that. Then Declan Doyle also taking, he was requested for an offensive coordinator job, but I think that ideally, I think that Declan Doyle will probably stay, because I think that he can just kind of groom underneath this. If he were to leave and go to like the Eagles for an offensive coordinator job, he would be the one that's calling plays. So if that's appealing to him, then he would go over there. But I hope we're able to at least keep him. And then Al Harris, I feel like the writing's on the wall. He's probably going to be leaving. That's how I feel. Team saying Al Harris is going to Pittsburgh. Yeah, is that official? I have not looked at social media rather recently, so I could see him going to Pittsburgh. Especially since he knows Mike McCarthy, who just went over to Pittsburgh. So I could see that. I could definitely see Al Harris going over there just because of the connection. And also just him being a good defensive. Oh, so team's saying just rumors. Yeah, it makes sense though. Like it really does make sense that he'd be the guy that goes over there. The other piece too that I actually just want to mention, I saw this kind of going, speaking of Twitter, I saw this kind of going around about Ian Cunningham if he went over to Atlanta, or even Eric Bieniemy getting an offensive coordinator job. We actually will not be getting compensatory picks. I forgot who it was that reported this, but there was a couple reports that, myself included, it's like, well, Ian Cunningham, right? If he gets a GM job, a general manager job, we get compensatory picks. That is true, except in the case of Atlanta, because Matt Ryan is the one that's actually the decision maker. In GM, even though that's the title, he's not going to be the decision maker. So that's where maybe even Ian Cunningham's like, why would I go to an assistant GM job to essentially an assistant GM job, but you just changed my job title to GM, but I'm still doing what Matt Ryan wants to do rather than doing what Ryan Poles wants me to. So that's something that I want to just kind of clear that up, just in case if anyone was curious about that, because it's confusing. I forgot who it was. I think it was someone from the Chicago Tribune that broke that, but that's where it's like, yeah, please don't go over to Atlanta, right? That's the big piece. But then the other little items, right? So we have the coaching carousel, but I also want to just say this to kind of put a bow on it. To me, the coaching carousel, I'm not necessarily too nervous about it, because yet again, you lost a good person in Eric Bieniemy. We kind of expected that to happen. But what you're seeing is that, hey, if you coach with Ben Johnson, yeah, like if you're down on your luck, and we're seeing all these good head coaches and good coaches, like the coaching staff is dismantled, you can come here and then you can get back on your feet, get an OC job, right? Just hang out here for a year and we'll send you out somewhere. Obviously, we want to have a coaching staff that stays, but I'd rather be winning and people poaching off our coaching staff than anything else. And as long as we have a Dennis Allen and Ben Johnson, that is the thing that solidifies it, because it doesn't seem that anyone's going to try and get Dennis Allen. So hopefully that defense can just continue to get better. But then also too, let's go over to just some rumors. I know that there's Max Crosby rumors and Travis Etienne rumors for those that have seen that. So Max Crosby rumors, we just see Max Crosby gushing about Caleb Williams. Now, I do believe as we're looking more towards the offseason and we'll have more stuff on this, to me, Max Crosby, I like the idea of the Bears making a splash, right? And we'll obviously talk about it later. I think that they should go after and make a big splash and not just get a Dayo Adengbo, essentially, like another player that just can be good. There was like John Franklin Myers, right? Someone who's solid, which now I'm terrified that we're now going to sign John Franklin Myers to a $15 million a year deal and be like, no, we got our defensive line help, right? Don't just add good, solid, don't add just like an okay player. We need somebody that can really kind of turn the needle for this defense and get us back out there. So that is my feeling. I want somebody that is great that we can potentially get. So then also too, Travis Etienne. The other piece too with Travis Etienne, for those that didn't see, there's rumors out there that Travis Etienne, that the Bears actually have interest in Travis Etienne. He's going to be a free agent. Now, my whole thing, I don't love that. And this is someone who, and we'll talk about this during the award show even more. I never was a fan of them signing DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift this year really impressed me with how he played. And what he's doing in this system is very impressive. Now, we're paying him like $7 to $8 million, and the estimate is Travis Etienne would get $6.8 million estimate. So they're relatively the same exact price. Why would we do it, right? I know that Etienne is technically a better receiver out of the backfield. I just don't get it, right? I think that that's just like, it's essentially a wash, and I don't love that. And also too, Travis Etienne famously was tweeting about how he hates the cold weather, how he never wants to play in the cold weather. So that's why to me, I just don't get it. And it was just a report that was going around the Shrine Bowl. So something that I just wanted to talk about a little bit. So let's get into the chat. Let's see what y'all are saying. We got Squeegee out there. We got Joe. We got lots and lots of people. We got Dookie, Barrett down, all of y'all. So Team Scare saying those are stupid rumors. I agree with the Travis Etienne. And then J2K saying, what about Henderson over Crosby? Avoid trading picks. See, that to me makes more sense. Because like with Crosby, especially, like you're talking about two potentially injured people. And that's where it's like, I at least like the idea of Henderson because I expect his value to be a lot lower now because of those injuries. And hopefully with the tie with Dennis Allen, I think that's just an honest conversation that, Poles has to have with Allen, where it's like, hey, I know that you coached Henderson. Does he like you? Right? Like what does he think of you? Because just because they coach together, like Henderson could totally be like, dude, I hate that guy, right? I had one good season with the Saints and then they let me go. And then I go over and I started looking great for the Bengals, right? So maybe, but that's just something to look at. So I think we've waited long enough. Let's get into the award show. Now, I wish I was wearing like a nice little bow tie. And also too, this award show brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. I have not shouted them out yet, so make sure, like over the Super Bowl, check out our friends at FanDuel, giving the best lines out there. And thank you again for sponsoring this podcast. So let's get into the actual main piece to talk about. We're talking about the award show, everybody's favorite episode. Let's get into the award show. And first off, let's talk about the Rookie of the Year award. So last year, when we were talking about Rookie of the Year award, there was really no one that we could even give this award out to. I remember talking about this on the award show and being like, who do we give this to? It was like, was it Austin Booker or something like that? But it's good that we actually have people that we can actually suggest for Rookie of the Year. So let me know who you think should be Rookie of the Year. I'm actually going to just post, I'm going to try and post this out too. So as I just kind of think of this, we have Loveland, we got Luther, we got Monangai, and I think then the only other one would be like Ozzie. When I really kind of think about that, I think those are kind of the four key ones. And those are your main players, Loveland, Luther, Monangai, and Ozzie. Now, the other thing that I want to kind of talk about with this, now I was even debating doing a completely separate podcast just to kind of talk about this, but I'll talk about it here just because if you're listening, you're right, just one episode, right? We don't need to be one of those shows that has like 10 episodes, every 5 days. But what we'll do here is I want to just kind of bring up this rookie class. Let me actually bring this up on my own screen for the Bears. So the rookie class for our beloved Chicago Bears, let me pull this together and grab this 2025 and just grab the entire list of the Bears rookies. So we have Colston Loveland, Luther Burden, Ozzie Trapillo, and I guess even Jahdae Walker can even kind of be in this, this entire conversation as we talk about too. But like Luke Newman, Zay Frazier, Ruben Hippolyte, Shamar Turner, all those players. Now, the thing that I want to talk about with this particular class is when we get into the draft. For those that have listened to this show time and time again, you hear me talk about drafting best player available. Now, I know that there's going to be some caveman out there that says they always draft their best player available, and it's not true, right? They might believe this, but there is something to drafting based on consensus value of what a bunch of other people think. And yet again, it's not a tried and true, like it's going to hit 100%, but it's just like betting on sports. No one is going to be 100%, but if you take these good flyers on people that are good at football, you're going to probably do something well. Now, Colson Loveland, I remember when they made the pick, I was like, I would rather have Kevin Warren. But I remember someone saying like, well, Brad, who would you have had second? I think it was one of you guys that asked me that. Like, if it wasn't Warren, who would you have drafted? And I said, well, Colson Loveland, actually, because I didn't like all the other players that were on the board. And that's the thing, is that even though, yes, he's not Kevin Warren, but you still were drafting a player that was good, that has been a captain, that has been this like consistent receiving threat. Now, he was banged up, and the fact that he was able to be great, that was something that was incredible. Then you have Luther Burden, who was a first-round caliber wide receiver, drops because of some potential character concerns. The dude balls out, and when he started learning the playbook, does great. And then this is where you start kind of getting away from it with Ozzie, with Shamar Turner, with Ruben Hippolyte wasn't even on people's boards. Luke Newman, Zay Frazier, and stuff like. Actually, Zay Frazier was technically kind of where people were expecting, but he was a big-time gamble. Now, there seems to be something that was kind of affecting him. We'll see kind of what that turns out. But then Kyle Monangai, someone that like, I want to just highlight this, that it wasn't rocket science when you look at this draft class and you get like instantly we're given Loveland and Burden and Monangai good grades because they're good at football. And I think I just want to bring that up because as we go into this draft class, I know it's easy for us to say the Bears should just go D-line, but especially with where the Bears are picking, going with that best player model, seeing who drops to you is something that's very, very, very good and can pay dividends down in the future. And that's why in free agency and stuff like that, fix your roster there and then build it by drafting good talent in the draft. That's what the best organizations do. That's why like the best organizations are able to stay competitive is they don't draft based on what they need. It's based on how the board falls to them. End of rant. So that's my feeling with that. But that is my biggest piece. And that's why this draft class was freaking awesome. And I also had hats off to Ozzie Trapillo. He's outperformed my expectations this year just with the way that he's been playing. So I want to give hats off. All this to say, 89% of y'all are saying Colson Loveland, Rookie of the Year. I think yes. Monangai, Luther Burden, proved to be excellent pieces, but what Loveland has shown is and Burden's actually shown star potential. I think that Monangai has shown that he's kind of that bruising running back, but might not be a number one. Burden has shown that he can be a number one, and Loveland has shown that he is a star, like a star in the making. So that's something that I absolutely love. Loveland he's already looking elite, and the way that he's playing is insane. 90% of y'all agree with that. Let's go. And Dookie, I agree. Listing 4 legit candidates, that's a great draft there. So love it. Ron's out there too. Bear down, my friend. We got lots of people out there in the chat, so make sure to hit like. Helps out the show tremendously. So let's go over to our next one. Our next award, the most improved player. So let's talk about this. Who do you believe was the most improved player this year? Now, I also want to clarify, we're doing this last season to this season. My old co-host, Johnny PayPal, always loved like the most improved during this season, but this is most improved from last year over to this year. And I'm just looking through this. Rome started off strong, and I think that that's actually who I gave my prediction was at the beginning of the year, because buzz was kind of flying around him. He was good, but the tail end kind of fell off. The other, as I'm just kind of looking through, I'm actually Darnell Wright to me is actually a candidate, I would say, because Darnell Wright was good last year. I like the trajectory of Darnell Wright. He was okay as a rookie. And I said this when he was a rookie too, and I know that some people didn't like that I said that, but Darnell Wright was okay as a rookie. And then Darnell Wright was good last year. And then this year, he was great. And also too, something that I find very impressive with Darnell Wright was that he was called out, Darnell Wright and Caleb Williams, both that improved. So let me know in the chat, who do you think? Both of those players called out, kind of like getting a lot of pressure from their coaching staff. And Darnell Wright answered it. Darnell Wright looked great. And Darnell Wright played at an all-pro level, which was unbelievable. And then you have Caleb looking a lot better. And what Caleb was doing was making the way that Caleb improved out of the pocket. Now, I'm hesitant to give it to Caleb just because of, there were some accuracy issues out there. The other person, too, I got to bring up DeAndre Swift. I see, J2K bringing up Swift, and I'm going to bring up Swift, too. And I'm going to actually just start this off. Most improved, and I'll put Caleb, Darnell, and I'm seeing who else might even be out there, too. Swift, because Swift, bad season, comes back, ends up playing well. And I also want to give him credit because I don't think it was just improved blocking. The guy was also playing like a dog out there too. Like he was playing aggressive, something that we just did not see him do. And then we look at the defense. I think Jervon was also another person we were kind of hoping would take a big step. And I know that I was on the train that, okay, he was going to be playing a lot more one tech, so probably not as good of stats. But yeah, just rather disappointed with what Jervon did. Montez, yeah, he got some sacks, and then I know Booker was another person. Booker played better, so I'll give him that. But even Tremaine Edmonds played better, but then he kind of faded down during the season. Nahshon Wright could even be someone too that like Nahshon Wright was someone that just did not play great the season before. Now he wasn't on the Bears. Yeah, Taco Man just said that too. Like, I'm going to actually put him as someone that we'll actually kind of be able to mention because Nahshon Wright was not good last season, but then comes out and then just racks up the stats that he did. And then to Jalen. Yeah, Jalen didn't play great. Kevin Byard. I saw Byard out there from Squeegee. I like him. So that was someone that, yeah. But I guess we've never had somebody that wasn't good the season before, like Nahshon Wright, and then ends up playing better. And even like in that case, then Jonah Jackson too. So I might actually just go with these four. Byard wasn't as good last. But Byard was still good. I'd say Brisker also coming back and playing good. I'm gonna leave it this way. I'm gonna leave it at these four. Booker, honorable mention inside the just normal chat. I thought Booker played well, but still, it was like. Booker's getting better, and I think that was someone. So lots and lots of different pieces. I want to just kind of see what y'all have to say about this to see. And then Ron's saying Rams are losing right now. Nice. Here, I actually got to pull up the score for myself just to see what's going on with this. Oh, man, 31-20. Jeez. So, if you, little plug for FanDuel here. I got 46.5. Got the over right there. So glad that hit. But my Rams plus 2.5 isn't looking. So we'll call it a wash. But yeah, we're getting 50% with Swift, 38% saying Caleb. Oh man, this is tough because like I said, I really like the way that they played. I'm gonna disagree with you, chat. So chat is saying Swift, and then Caleb in second, and then Nahshon as of third, and Darnell fourth. So chat's got Swift as the people's champ. I'm actually going to crown Darnell. I think that what Darnell showed from this year to last year to this year was like he was good, but man, he just looked elite. So that might be a jump now that I'm saying that too, but I'm going to give it to Darnell just because y'all are giving it to Swift. I'll give it to Darnell. We'll just spread the love. And then Caleb is our honorary second for this. So we'll leave it that way. And I think that'll be good because I think that's the good part of just the coaching You add in players like Jonah Jackson, who's coming off a bad year, and Deshaun Wright coming off a bad year, and then they look phenomenal. And then you're talking about this offense. Swift was running hard, playing hard. Obviously, his stats, like if we're going purely on stats, Swift definitely takes this. I think to me, just seeing what Darnell was able to do, that's what I just love. I just love that Darnell. You saw later, like whenever the running game wasn't going, they're just like run it behind Darnell. And just having that was something that I really liked. And yeah, I agree with Squeegee with this statement too, that Darnell started pretty lackadaisical. Yeah. And then kind of then brought it together. I still think that there's room to grow with Darnell, where there's still like that polish of, Joe Thuney, how Joe Thuney is just day in, day out. What you're getting. Darnell, sometimes you don't know what you're getting. I think that there's still that consistency, but man, if he gets that consistency, dude is all pro. Like he's all pro all day. So, and yeah, I agree with Michael too. Yeah, we're all ready to cut Swift, I mean, hey, to me, if they still draft a running back that we feel good about, then I'll take the cap savings. But yeah, I feel very different about how, like with Swift going into this season. But let's get into one of my favorite little weird awards that we announced at the beginning of this season, the Wait, He's Good award. And this is the award is this giant thumbs up that just says you're good at football. This is a player that no one seems to give enough credit to. This is someone who's either like underrated. The guy just doesn't get a lot of love. And to me, there's one person that I think is just a runaway favorite, but I want us to just like come up with others. The people that you're just like, wait, this guy's good. Like this guy's good that just nobody talks about and nobody is like giving praise to. The number one person that comes up that out there is Joe Thuney. I feel like the guy does not get enough love for how freaking good and consistent he is. Because to me, it's just Joe Thuney, day in, day out, it just is incredible. And then you move him over to left tackle. He plays well, right? He played good. But it's just the consistency that he plays with. To me, he's like the number one, like, and to some people, they might be, well, I hear a lot about him, right? And to someone like myself, I never hear anything about Joe Thuney or like the amount of love that he deserves for such a good player, where it's like, you kind of forget that he's good at football. You forget that he's on the team, that he's like this incredible centerpiece inside of this offense. But I do like too, you got some Sweat out there, some Ozzie too. Ozzie was like, oh yeah, he's good. He's solid. And then also Sweat. I actually like Sweat too. I like that as one because I do feel like almost from the opposite, where I think that he was getting too much hate. Where yet again, it's like, well, why is this person not, it's like yelling at your car, like, why is my car not able to go as fast as an F1? It's like, well, because it's not an F1. You're driving a Lexus. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Toyotas don't go that fast when they're not souped up. Like, that's the thing is, Montez gives you what Montez Sweat does, but there's not a lot of love that gets handed out to him. Then, I'm hesitant on even like a TJ Edwards too. And actually, I like Taco Man's with Stevenson. Like, yeah, Stevenson was somebody that not a lot of love, but just played well. Even like a Kevin Byard, I think even too. Kevin Byard might get a lot of love just because of the interceptions. But like TJ Edwards played pretty well towards the end of the season. You kind of saw a little switch kind of flip. But yeah, he's another person that I like. I like the Stevenson one too, where he's just good, just solid. And even like, I would even throw in Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet, kind of somebody that just, he blocks well. He ran his routes well. He just played football and he was just out there playing football. But I'm actually going to give this, I won't ask this one too much just because this is like a very subjective award. I'm going to give this out to Joe Thuney. I am going to give this to Joe Thuney because I just don't think he gets enough credit. And also, as this entails, the guy's just good at football. When you just see him, the man is a football player, plays some good football. I'm giving it out to Joe Thuney. So now let's keep on going to just some other fun ones. Let's go into the backup award, the Brent Urban Award. So for those that don't remember, Brent Urban, I think this was back in the 2018 season. the man would just come out, and this was maybe even earlier, but Brent Urban, when he would play, the guy was this backup defensive tackle for us that would come out and make just a couple key sacks. And then after that, you'd never hear from him again. And he would always, his celebration was the electric guitar. And that's what that dude would always do. And, you know, so he probably has no idea. I should probably I think his wife is actually very on social media. I should just be like, do you know that your husband, I have an award named after him. But this is given to the best backup or rotational player that's out there. So trust me, we'll get into more interesting awards. These are probably the two least interesting awards. So Brent Urban Award, who is your backup that just made these great backup plays? And I see Jackson, I see Booker. Yeah, because Booker technically a backup. Now he's hesitant just because he ended up starting, right? I like Action Jackson. That's a good one too. He is somebody. And then also, I'll even throw in Tyreek Stevenson. He ends up coming in and he ended up playing some really big time snaps. Now, actually, Braxton. One that might be good. I'm curious, Chad, if I should include this person, but Jahdae Walker. And actually, I was even thinking, CJ. Well, CJ also started, I feel, too. Monangai, technically. Yeah, he's technically a backup. Dang. This one's always one of those where I'm like, oh, it's just this one guy. Because I came in, I'm like, Cole Kmet gives a little bit of splash, a little bit of pizzazz, good backup. But it's wait, no. But then we have, I'm going to put Jahdae. Jahdae was somebody, backup that all of a sudden just comes out and makes a couple big time plays. And then it just keeps on going. And then you got, Sewell? Yeah, Sewell made a couple big plays. Booker, I'm curious if Booker qualifies. We'll see how many other big play people we have. Offensive line, nothing too much. I mean, we had Theo, but Theo ends up dropping a pass, so he's off the list. Let's see, Durham Smythe. Durham Smythe actually too. Durham Smythe actually qualifies because he makes just a couple of those holy crap, he played. Oh man, Taco, don't talk about the hippo. Hippolyte. Yeah, Monangai is a good one. Because he was somebody, Monangai, that is the spirit of the award. Jahdae, Monangai, I'll put DeMarco rather than Action. And then the line just was so disappointing that I don't even want to add anybody on that. And then we got, let's see, linebacker, it's really DeMarco. And CJ technically a backup, but it's tough, but it's he was starting. He was kind of starting. So I removed Booker and CJ just because they had to play a lot of starting roles out there. And then we left it with just Tyreek Stevenson, DeMarco Jackson. Monangai was borderline, and I put Jahdae out there as well. Just because these were people that just kind of right, that just kind of shined and just kind of popped. So to me, it's Jahdae was definitely all of a sudden he would just make a big old 20-yard catch. And you're like, holy crap, Jahdae Walker's out there. And then DeMarco Jackson comes in just randomly and you're like, oh, the dude intercepted it. Now, the thing that pains the DeMarco Jackson thing with the Brent Urban Award is he would start sometimes and then that's when he would just look like an absolute freak. But he would come in and play. So, and then you have Tyreek Stevenson where, yet again, it's I don't know why they don't like Tyreek, because whenever he's out there, he was making plays. But then I did hear that he was kind of looking outside and trying to, at the very end of the game, he's celebrating with the crowd. It's no, dude, this is what was bad. So let's see. Right now, we got 33% Jahdae, 33% Monangai, Jackson, and Stevenson with 17%. Right now, chat's loving Monangai. I love me some Monangai too. But I think for me, with this award and just the backup that and this might be recency bias. I mean, Monangai I love Monangai. Dang it. I'm gonna the people's champ is Monangai for this. So I'll give the people's champ to Monangai, but just because I love this dude. And this guy just I wish him the best, and I hope he's awesome for the Bears next year and the years to come. I'm going to give mine out to Jahdae Walker. The People's Award will go to the Nun Guy. My award will go out to Jahdae Walker, so that we got some love going out to all those Bears players. I think the big reason why for me with Jahdae is just because it's like those catches that you just don't expect. Then all of a sudden Jahdae's out there and you're like, holy crap, he just made a touchdown grab. Holy crap, right? And also Squeegee saying too, Rams end up scoring 27-31. Let's go. Nice. And then, yeah, it looks like I'm just looking at the box score right now. It looks like Seattle's kind of moving it down. So, dang. So we'll see what ends up happening. But Brent Urban Award, and now let's get into a Johnny PayPal exclusive. So my old co-host, he had this one that he called Mr. Winter. And this was one that he created where to him, Mr. Winter was the player that just flipped the switch in the winter months. Not somebody that say like, hey, this guy was great in, like, if he was good in the summer and then was also good in the winter, like, who was someone for you that in the cold, in December and January, just flipped a switch and just played great? And we got Iceman, we got Caleb out there from, that's a Taco Man saying, I agree. I think when I'm looking at this, to me, the people that really came on in the winter, right? Luther Burden went crazy. Like, you see the stats when he started playing in the winter, the guy just started playing like crazy. And then you have, so to me, I think it's, if I do the poll, so Mr. Winter, let's see, we got Caleb. It's like you got to give it to Caleb, right? Then we got Luther. I'm even going to put Loveland too. Loveland as a nominee because Loveland, actually, the more that I'm thinking about it, when Loveland was like just averaging 6 different receptions a game, coming into the end of the year. Here, I'm just going to start loading up some stats. Loveland with 91 yards against Loveland with 91 yards against the Lions. Luther with 138 against and actually I'm going to load up their stats because, man, you just see how good these guys were. And then on the defense, I'm just trying to think of if there's anyone on the defense that really shined. Unfortunately, I don't think anyone, DeMarco Jackson kind of showed up a little bit, but technically Grady Jarrett had his best games in the winter, but they weren't too impressive. But let's see. And then the running game didn't do too great. I do think it's just literally Caleb, Luther, or Loveland. I think it's just those three. Just looking through this, I don't think there was anyone else that really was like, holy cow. And DJ, I guess you could say a little bit, like he had a couple different games. But I just kind of want to look at some of their game logs for how they played, like in the winter. Let's just look primarily. So this is Loveland, 91 yards and a touchdown against Detroit. In the playoffs, he had 137 yards against Green Bay, 56 yards against the Rams, 94 yards and a touchdown against the 49ers, 30 yards against the Packers, 63 against Cleveland, 29 and a tutty against the Packers. It's pretty darn good. Like, that's good. And then Luther, 42 yards against Green Bay, 24 against the Rams, then 35 against the Lions. I guess that was then this is where it was 138 against the 49ers, 84 against the Browns, 67 against Green Bay. So he had never mind, it was like 3 games or so that he really kind of went off. But then Caleb, it's hard to not give him Mr. Winter. 100% of votes going to Caleb with this. 361 against the Packers, 257 against the Rams, 212 against Detroit, 330 against San Francisco, 250 against the Packers, 242 against the Browns. Yeah, he really did kick it up in the winter, I got to say. So how about this? This is what we'll do. I think what we'll do is, it's crazy. So I think that's the thing that is just kind of cool to see is just the instant turnaround. I think what I'll do is I'll do the same thing that we were doing with some of these other ones. The People's Champ, because the dude is the Iceman. Giving it to Caleb Williams. And then I'll give the honorable mention, or maybe even like to me, Loveland, what Loveland was able to do. Just the dude just ended up being the focal point of this offense. When you look at it, after like literally getting 63 yards, 94, 91, 137, 56. But yeah, I think Iceman, pretty simple. The Iceman takes home the award. But now let's go into everybody's least favorite yet favorite award, the Nate Davis Award. It was so bad because this was the Cody Parkey Award for OG fans of the show. Knew this as the Cody Parkey Award, where this is the most disappointing player. We changed it to Nate Davis because he won it 2 years straight. There has never been a 2-time winner of the most disappointing player award, but Nate Davis disappointed us twice. And the fact that he was the most disappointing for 2 consecutive years, we had to rename this award to the Nate Davis Award. We were even thinking about like the other honorable mention, just because of how bad we were, was the person that and actually we can do this. We can have the Chase Claypool Award, where I think this is what we'll do. The Chase Claypool Award is the person that we got rid of halfway through the season. And to that, we give that to Braxton Jones, because Dio was technically injured and then he ends up going off. So I don't think it was like Braxton, we were just like, no, you're not going to play anymore. We're shutting you down. You're benched. You're gone. So first off, we're going to give the not even pictured Chase Claypool Award, where it's the person that we had halfway through. And then we're like, nope, you can leave. So Braxton Jones gets that because we literally were like, you know what? You were the starting left tackle, and it went down fast. And they were just like Ben Johnson wasn't having any of that, saying you miss way too many blocks. Like, to me, it's unfortunate. Like, to me, I still felt like Braxton had this potential, but yet again, if you're missing blocks, get out of here, right? So Braxton is going to get the Chase Claypool Award for basically being essentially cut midway through the season. But now let's talk about most disappointing players. Let's throw out a couple. For one, Rome Odunze, you could say towards the second half, but yet again, not to the level. We have a lot more disappointment to go through. And DJ Moore at times. I know if you're a DJ Moore fan, you're probably pretty disappointed with that. But then as we go through the rest of the line, right? We already talked about Braxton Jones, Karan Amagashi as a no-show for just the entire season again. But yet again, there was a lot of expectations going into this. This is about disappointment. Let's see. Offense, yeah, no one else really for the offense. So let's get to the most disappointing, the defense. One could say Jalen Johnson, but he was banged up, or even like Kyler, just not for being able to play. But let's get into this. We got to talk about Grady Jarrett. I know a lot of people loved Grady Jarrett and loved the signing of a Grady Jarrett, and I know I was not one of them. And actually, we talked about this during the show back then. I brought up Andrew Billings, and Andrew Billings was disappointed. And honestly, he's a candidate for the award because he was so disappointing, because he was somebody that we loved on the show, but at the same time, it was just heartbreaking. He just wasn't and it was because, he's older, got banged up, and that was some of the reasons why I said, expect a down year from him. So let me see, most disappointing. And then we got to talk about Dayo Odeyingbo, in which I think he might run away with the award, but also too, this is the most disappointing. And I misspelled disappointing, but spell check isn't working, so I'm just gonna leave that up. There's a spell check somewhere in there. I'm gonna say Grady, and let's see, Dexter. Ooh, Dexter's a good one. Gervon Dexter's a big one, because I know the expectations were he's going to be great. He's going to take the next step. He's going to look really good. Yeah, Roschon Johnson too. Talk about with McLeod. I know some people were kind of hyping him up, so I could see that. And then Noah Sewell's a good one too. I really like your list, Squeegee. And then Edmonds, Edwards, the linebackers. Yeah, Dio, Grady, I know that some of y'all really, really liked McLeod, but yeah, McLeod, was not good. Yeah, unfortunately for us out there. I'm gonna throw McLeod out there then. I see a lot of McLeods in the chat. And then Joe Tryon-Shoyinka. He was the guy that we traded for. I know that we kind of talked about him in the show where it's like he's got some burst to him, right? But when you're trading for him, it's just kind of disappointing with that. But let me see. There's a lot more disappointing things. Like the linebackers, I know we expected more. Noah Sewell. I think the thing that stinks about Noah Sewell is that, but at the same time, good with Noah Sewell is that Noah Sewell was somebody that, he kind of showed what he is. Not a good coverage guy at all. I think he was literally PFF's worst graded pass coverage guy, and it showed up on tape, obviously. But he was a good run defender. Just the pass pro was garbage. But yeah, most disappointing. I think that's what's like kind of tough is, to me, Dexter might be the most disappointing. But at the same time, it's just like, I think the thing that makes me disappointed about Grady and Dio is that, like, it's just, we have them for another year. And I think that is the thing that, and I agree with J2K, what he said about Sewell. Like, yeah, as a Sam linebacker, exactly. Like when you have him stop the run, totally fine. Yeah, middle linebacker, when they were playing him at middle linebacker, it's like, dude, just put in someone else. But yeah, Dio, I think the thing, like, Grady, I think the disappointing part is I did hear some shows that were like really, really, really high on Grady. Like I heard some people that were like, you can't judge this defensive line until Grady Jarrett's in there because he's Grady Jarrett. And it's like, well, no, he's a 30-something-year-old guy that had a serious injury and just had not looked the same. So yeah, but Dio and Grady, we just have to hold on to them. And since Dio got injured too, that's the thing. But Grady did towards this tail end up doing something. So I will agree with y'all. Well, I'll agree with y'all with Dio. Dio is the people's, and I will also agree with the people. Dio, I think, is the one that's just so disappointing because even though Grady ended up turning up a little bit, but he's at least a leader in the locker room. So you can at least like justify some of that. Dio is one of those where it's just like, and serious injury, which is super, super unfortunate. But at the same time, you can't really do anything. They're just on your roster with eating up salary cap. And you're kind of stuck. So to me, yeah, that was the biggest thing. So, yeah, but I'll say to clarify this, Dio was just like, just constant crap, right? Just the constant flow of just like not feeling good about what was kind of going on. I will say though, the person that probably disappointed me the most this year was probably Gervon, just because the expectation to take a step. So person was constant crap, Dio. The person that I was hoping would do really, really well, but didn't, would be Gervon, just because I was expecting him to just play a little bit better. But yeah, so that's the feeling. But yeah, seeing a lot of different people out there. Yeah, lots of hate, but hey, let's flip this around. Let's talk about, this is a new one that I literally created. This is actually the reason why I now have to do 10 push-ups, because like Michael said, because I was late. Because I was actually just adding this one on because I'm like, I want to do this. So for those not on YouTube, I have the meme of Shaq saying, I owe you an apology. I wasn't really familiar with your game. And this was when Christian Wood put up 27 points against the Spurs. And it's just this meme. And it's the most surprising, right? The person that like you might have been like at the end of the year, it just gets you going, I owe you an apology. I wasn't really familiar with your game, right? Also, Philip, what is good? Bear down, my friends. Just saw you out there in the chat. Bear down. Also, we got I out there. Bear down to you too, my friend. But yeah, the person that you just go like that, you owe an apology to after this year. Cause I got a couple people out there that I owe an apology to. And I want to call this out because a couple people, for one, Jonah Jackson surprised me because I was expecting not good production. I actually think that Jonah Jackson was somebody that was up there as, for me, one of the most disappointing, where I thought as someone that I want to say as most surprising. But to me, like I see Jonah Jackson out there where it was like somebody that I just was like surprised to see him. Like, I expected us to be talking here and being like, we're stuck with the Jonah Jackson deal, right? That's what I thought that I was going to be saying. And I'm not. I'm like, okay, we got a year with him. And then, like, if something changes, and now I'm not here, and I still don't expect him to just be this great player, right? But it was like, oh, it doesn't look bad. And I was fully expecting to, like, expect it to be bad. And I'm going to put as the question, who do you owe an apology to? Like, who are you not familiar with their game? I mean, or you were too familiar with their game and they surprised you. So to me, like, Jonah is somebody that comes to mind. I see somebody saying Ozzie. Ozzie's another person actually for me too, because I was somebody that, it was one of those things, especially with offensive linemen. Like I say this time and time again, to me, he reminded me of Dan Skipper, where like smart player, like career swing tackle-esque player. And Taco Man has Caleb. Yeah, like totally Caleb can be one of those guys for a lot of people. And like, to me, yeah, like Ozzie was somebody that I was like, okay, you outperformed my expectations year one. And that's where too, if the patellar injury unfortunately derails his career, I will say that he has outperformed my expectations with anything, just because the way that he performed this year was higher than I thought that his ceiling could go. Yeah, and that's the thing. Yeah, he might be out, like Ron was saying, for some of next season, which obviously hope for the best. The other thing too was Swift. Most surprising. Now, I was on this show saying Swift is going to have like better stats. It does not mean that he's a better player, anything like that. Swift, when I was watching the tape, looked like a better player than what he did last season, than what he did other places. You do not see DeAndre Swift fighting for yards that hard. Like anywhere that he's gone, Swift was great, in my opinion. And that was somebody that was surprising because, yet again, and I'm not looking at the stats, I'm looking at the tape. The stats I knew were going to be good. The tape was something that I was surprised with how hard that dude was running out there in the second half of the season. The dude was a dog. And I saw people out there saying Booker, saying Brisker, Jonah. Yeah, the other people too. I mean, DeMarco, I don't think that we were like putting him down, so I'm not going to, we could say that where it's like, okay, I'm sorry. It's like, oh, we added DeMarco Jackson because I think he was like a pickup that we added right before the start of the season, if memory serves me correct. So he actually could be I'll put DeMarco out there, even though I wasn't like talking down about him. DeMarco was somebody. And then looking through, CJ kind of knew what we were going to get with him, at least. Nashawn Wright was somebody that at least like kind of picked things up. Lots of good ones. Yeah, I'll do Ozzie out there too. DeMarco, let's see too. Hippolyte. We all slept on the Hippolyte, but man, that guy played 5 snaps this season. Those were the best damn 5 snaps we saw all season. But I'm going to put Swift out there too. I'm going to do Jonah, DeMarco, Ozzie, and Swift. So who do you owe an apology to? We all owe Ruben Hippolyte an apology. We are all just living in Ruben Hippolyte's world. Right now, yeah, we got some good stuff. Colson Loveland, yeah. Colson Loveland's a good one too. Good job, Wooten at the very end saying Loveland, dude. That's a really good one. I already sent out the quiz. Crap, but Loveland is one because how many people were cursing his name first half of the season, being like, "Why did we get Colson Loveland?" And here's the thing too. It's like then Colson Loveland gets his feet underneath him and starts playing, and like that's the thing too, is like Loveland, it's tough because it's like Loveland's been outperforming what I was thinking too, where the dude was, like I said, when we were like watching the tape all together, guy was one of the best route runners I've seen. He like literally might be one of the best route run. Like he might be the best route runner on the team. Like no joke. But let's see. It's all split with Ozzie, Swift, and Jonah. For me personally, right? We'll have the People's Award, but I will actually give my personal award to Jonah Jackson just because I know that he was, without even looking back at the old thing, he was like at the very top of my list as like, you got to be kidding me. And I'm talking about this season, right? Next season, I could be proven right. And it's like, you know what, right? Like he did not look as good, but the guy played above average and he played well. And so to me, I'm giving him my award of Jonah Jackson, but I love how the people, y'all are split on Jonah, Ozzie, and Swift. I love that. Absolutely love it. And then, yeah, Swift to me would be my second just because I love the way that he was running out there. And I've always said, like, negative on the signing of him. So anytime that he's doing stuff like that, really just turns the corner for me, with my opinion. But let's keep this going. Now we're kind of in the home stretch of the classic awards that people are used to. Let's go into offensive MVP, where I think this might be kind of easy, but I'll at least start the poll. Who is your offensive MVP? Offensive MVP. And let's see. Does Ben Johnson qualify? I think that is actually, no, it says most valuable player. Okay. We will specify that because to me, the most valuable thing to the offense is Ben Johnson. Hands down, Ben Johnson. It's been throughout everything, right? But this is most valuable player, not most valuable to the offense. So most MVP, we got Caleb. I think it might be Caleb. We got Caleb out there. And then we got, we'll do Loveland. Loveland honestly deserves that. We're also going to give it out to Joe Thuney as a candidate. I don't think Dahlman had his ups and downs. That's why I'm not going to even put him out there. And I'm going to put Swift. Why not? I'm giving the man some love. Wide receivers, I mean, Luther wasn't playing a lot out there. Rome, DJ, not consistent enough. So we're going to do Caleb. This might be easy. Caleb, Loveland, Thuney, or Swift. And, you know, the running game was definitely like a focal point, but still. And yeah, Darnell Wright too. Dang it. After I was giving Darnell Wright all the love for most improved. And you know what? Just because of actually, never mind, because Loveland got, rookie of the year. Yeah, we won't give awards out to everybody, but yeah, everybody's saying Caleb. I agree, especially the way that I want to say during the middle of the season, this is where the running game became the focal point, and Caleb was kind of making some more mistakes. And I just want to just as a recap, right? Because this is also the recap show that we do as well. The first group of the season before the bye week, this was Caleb anchoring this team, leading this team, and then you had the running game leading this team. And then after that, Caleb was leading this team. So that is something that's awesome that we saw out there. And to me, I'm just so excited for what we have. What Caleb did and what Caleb showed was that the main thing was we wanted to know, do we have the coach and do we have the quarterback? And we check both of those boxes. Now, the biggest thing that Caleb needs to get better at, and I've talked to people, I've talked to Packer fans, I've talked to Vikings fans about this, is that Caleb's accuracy was a problem this year. And to me, I think he should be able to get better at that. He showed that at USC. He had some good accuracy. And I think what you're seeing is that he should be able to take this next step and continue his growth. And man, if he gets that accuracy down, right? Because I know some people are like, don't hate on him. Don't hate on the accuracy. Don't say negative things. But can you imagine? He's not to his full potential yet. Which is amazing to say. Because if he just hits the easy stuff, you're talking about something this isn't a bold take. You are literally talking someone that can be in the actual MVP conversation, and consistently because of what he's able to do. If he just hits the easy stuff, because if he hits the easy stuff, the amount of yards he leaves on the table is crazy. And if he's able to do the simple stuff, the routine things, 4,000 yards without question, he would be able to achieve. So man, it's exciting stuff. But 100% to the Iceman. Let's keep on moving to maybe something that might be a little bit more difficult. The defensive MVP for this team. Defensive is going to be more difficult. Defensive MVP. Sweat's definitely up there just because the way that he's performed. Yet again, I would love to get into a situation where Sweat's not on this list. And we just say like Sweat. Now we start talking about Sweat as the good at football award, where that's what I want to give to him, where he's just good and he just plays well. And he like is just, he's able to do good things for us. So to me, that's what I want Montez Sweat to be, but Sweat is up there for defensive MVP. I'm seeing Byard. I added Byard for sure on that list. Unfortunately, no one else from the defensive line out there should really be included. The linebackers, they had ups and downs. That's the thing. I'm going to do Nahshon just because of what he was able to put up from the stats. I'm going to throw in Brisker too, because, man, we haven't talked enough about Brisker on this. And Talk Man actually just mentioned it too in the chat. So let's see. We got Sweat, Byard, Nahshon, and Brisker. And the thing that I think is so shocking is because of injuries, TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds not up there. I do think that if Edmonds had the full season, and I know that he is a big-time potential salary cap casualty this offseason, but he was playing really well at the very beginning of the year, really started to kind of like get back into his normal, like overly aggressive angles, which then takes him out of position from Tremaine Edmonds. But when we do tape reviews and like stuff like that, I've been critical of Tremaine Edmonds. Edmonds looked good the first half of the season, second half, not so much. Edwards has always been the good at football award. But let's see, 25% saying Sweat, 75% saying Kevin Byard, and Booker. Yeah, we got Wooten out there saying Booker underrated. Yeah, I do agree, just because the thing that I can't wait for is I can't wait for Booker to be in his true role of just like a pass rushing specialist, right? Like, give him that role. You need somebody, like you need Dio to be good at football. You need that spot to be Trey Hendrickson, Max Crosby, right? Somebody that can play well at that position. And then Booker can just focus on pinning his ears back and getting after the quarterback, because we've seen him in run defense, not necessarily the greatest, but the people are saying Kevin Byard, and I agree with y'all. Kevin Byard, defensive MVP. And quite frankly, too, we haven't talked about this with the safeties coming back. My money, if I had to bet, Byard should be back because of the leadership, and also because you'll probably be able to get him for a solid deal. And then Brisker wants to be back. Like, you can tell the dude wants to be a Chicago Bear, and that's what's heartbreaking. Is I freaking love Kevin Byard, but it's tough. I hope that they bring him back because when he's out there and Kyler's out there, the defense is high flying, high impact. And that's the thing that I think that we missed. And I think that's the thing that kind of stinks about Brisker's season this year is with him and Gordon. People were saying like him and Gordon, you just never knew what those guys were going to do. And they just fed off each other. And so that's something that I wish we could have seen more in real games, just because those dudes are just dogs and just feisty. So, yeah, but let's carry on to our final award, ladies and gentlemen, for this award show. And our final award is the Get Off the Couch Award. And this used to be the favorite player award, but I wanted to kind of switch it up because this is the player for you guys that, like, you all that listen to the show, us as just diehard Chicago Bears fans. When this player makes a play, you get off the couch, you jump off the couch, you cheer extra loud. You're like, that's my dude, and you get extra excited. It could be a simple freaking play, but it could just be something that just sets you off. Now, some of the players that we've had, Cole Kmet was actually one, just because every time he would catch the ball, we would just, he would just try to plow someone over, do the home run celebration. That might have been like 2 years ago or like last year, but he was one of ours. But to me, and then Roma Dunze was somebody that I loved, and somebody that I loved too. And then J2. So right now we got Team Scare saying None Guy. We got J2K saying all day Jade Skywalker. I love that too. And then also, yeah, I see Philip out there saying looks like Nashawn Wright will not be returning. I agree. I don't think he's going to be out there. And then Wooten saying Burden to me too, 100%. And then Taco Man saying Caleb, Loveland, Byard, Booker, Brisker, DJ. I agree with I definitely do agree with Booker's a good one, Brisker's a good one. DJ, I know that there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of diehard DJ fans out there. And also when DJ makes a catch too, you're like, come on, DJ. He just goes that extra mile with it. So let me see. I gotta think for myself with this. Luther, to me, who is your favorite player? And also too, Caleb can totally be it too. Right? And I want to stress that too, because I know with Fields, a lot of us loved Fields because the dude was just so electric. And I agree with this too. It's just Loveland. To me, I'm very Luther, Luther Burden. The dude, he's actually my son's favorite player. Because he's Luther catches everything and he's so good. No one tackles him. And it's yeah, you're right, son. No one can tackle him. And no one can tackle him the first time, around. And then Jade, Jade's just fun and he's just a fun dude. And you could just tell, the dude just wants it. Caleb is fun with it. And then Booker's fun when he gets a sack just cause. And also the sweet part about Booker too, making a sack is how he knocked out, Jordan Love, and Packer fans are that's the dirtiest hit when really it's just a football play. It's a penalty. We all agree it's a penalty, but they're still sour about it. And then, yeah, Byard, I always love Brisker and just his celebration and everything like that. Brisker's up there for me. DeMarco Jackson also kind of went up there just because the dude just started playing, just balling out. I actually even started loving Tyreek Stevenson. Even CJ Gardner-Johnson is fun. But yeah, Luther, Caleb, None Guy, Loveland is another one. Man, if I got to say it, and I'm just going to post this out, I just grabbed some of the most popular ones. I think the person that gets me off of my couch the most consistently. And this is a, we'll have the people's choice with it all. But to me, the person that I love watching is, and without fail, I love None Guy. I love the way he runs. And then every time that he runs, my house, we're just None Guy, it's just that, exactly how Kyle Brandt says it. Everyone was saying that even before he said it. It just rolls off the tongue. So to me, he was somebody that I loved. But man, there's just so many good ones this is always my favorite one to talk about, just because I love seeing y'all's favorite players and everything like that. Caleb, to me, I love with a lot of those pieces. I think part of me, as someone who analyzes the game too, I'm come on, man, you got to make that throw. So it's a big love-hate relationship with me with watching Caleb sometimes, because it's come on, man. Oh man, it's you have so much potential. So that's where I don't put him on that, but it's he does make me get off my couch just because of the amazing plays that he puts on. Luther, honestly, is probably my number 2. Luther for me is just good. But yeah, defense is tough. And that's why I just didn't, Billings was one of the guys that I know that we gave the award to just because we were the big man. I think for defense, CJ, Brisker, because CJ just you got to root for the guy. He just plays his heart out. Even though that he was kind of taken advantage of in coverage a little bit. And maybe we bring him back as a strong safety. Maybe he's the Brisker replacement, honestly. If you can get a solid deal for him, maybe you put him at the Brisker spot instead. But yeah, Brisker, I love Brisker. I love DeMarco Jackson. I love Austin Booker. And then yeah, offense, man, got some good stuff. Got some good people out there. But yeah, we got Marcus out there too. He said, got to say, hey, Caleb, the throw to take us overtime. Yeah, it tells it all. And when compared, yeah, there's no one else close. All right, 57% of y'all, the people's champ, Iceman, Caleb frickin' Williams for the Get Off the Couch Award. I'm giving mine to Monangai. I love Monangai. That's one of my favorite. Is my feeling is I love Monangai. Monangai is my number one. Luther Burden's my number two. And honestly, Loveland's getting up there just because Loveland could even be one of those guys that just good at football award, right? Where the thing that the way that he plays is just like his blocking, just sound blocking, sound fundamentals. It's like for anyone that remembers Uncle Drew, I loved every time I was playing basketball, it was always like backboard, stick to the fundamentals and all that. Like loved Uncle Drew. It's like that's kind of like what Luther Burden Colson Loveland, where it's just like good sound blocking fundamentals plus good routes and things like that. That's something that's just like yet again, I like drafting tight ends that break tackles. Loveland was never known for that. He's just the pure route runner. And he's like, look, Brad, look at my fundamentals. Look how good I am at these basic fundamentals because this is all you need to win games in football. So, yeah, but y'all, thank y'all so much. This is always one of my favorite ones to go through. Went a little bit longer because I owed everybody an extra little show out there. So I hope y'all love that. We will have you covered with the off-season coverage. God willing, as long as I don't get another random ass disease, I'm sick of being sick for all this time. So should not have to take off for being sick anymore. But everything should be good. Knock on wood. But make sure to like out there if you're watching on YouTube, and also make sure to subscribe, rate the show 5 stars everywhere that you get your podcast. And with that, Unbearable Sports Podcast, we are out.
Yeah, she's got some nice long hair, and you know that she's a bad chick.